Today on CityCast Denver, it used to be Denver's favorite sandwich back in the 1980s, but now the original location at 13th and Grant is closed indefinitely, and what was once a worldwide sensation looks like it could be going out of business. I'm talking, of course, about Quiznos. So how'd it go from toasted to toast? Today is Monday, April 24th. I'm Paul Karolyi in for Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. All right, so I'm here with a couple of returning favorites. We've got Hey Denver newsletter editor and our resident foodie, Peyton Garcia, back from maternity leave.
The crowd goes wild. I'm back.
And of course, one of my favorite people in the world to talk to about food, Westword's food editor, Molly Martin.
Hello. Thank
Welcome
you
back.
for having me back.
So I have gathered you two here today because something is deeply wrong with a very important and historic local restaurant chain. You're both nodding. We all recognize the solemnity of this moment. Of course, I'm talking about Quiznos. We're sitting here at Westword, about 2 blocks from the very first location. It's been in the news lately. Molly, you wrote about it last week. What's happening?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to talk to its founder after hearing that the original location had closed down. I ran over there and took a look. The doors are plastered with notices about owed taxes and notes that it is closed. The corporate says that they're trying to find another franchisee to take it over. But as we know, Quiznos have been closing at a very high rate. So it seems the likelihood of that is not good. And so in order to look to the future, we decided to reach back to the founder of Quiznos, who was kind enough to reminisce a bit about its beginnings.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second, but let's just take a second here. Quiznos, it's maybe on its last legs. Is this the end of the story?
It seems, especially in the U.S. I mean, we could talk about how there are a lot of them overseas and how it seems to be very close to the heart of people, especially in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So it could live on there, but it definitely seems to be having its downfall here in the U.S. right now.
Such a interesting little side note that this chain is still popular in the Philippines, of all places. Peyton, are you sad about the Quiznos story coming to an end?
No, it's time. It's like it's a terminal illness. It's been on its way out for a long time. It's a cat on its 8.5 life.
Yeah.
It's done.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning. Molly, you said you talked to the founder, Jimmy Lambatos. Is that how he says his name?
I believe so, yes.
So what's his deal? What's the story?
So his story was he moved here to Denver from New York in, I believe, the late 70s. And around 81, he opened the first Quiznos because he came here and he was used to sandwiches coming on nice crusty rolls. And he said, I came in Denver and everyone's eating sandwiches on hot dog buns. And he just knew he could do better. So he opened Quiznos. They started with the kind of commercial regular ovens that were often used in a casual restaurant back then and couldn't keep up with demand. So their big innovation was bringing in these conveyor belt ovens that would toast the subs quick enough to keep up with the high demand for them. So that was its beginnings, was Jimmy saying sandwiches in Denver can be better. And I'm the guy to do it.
Fascinating. So the crustiness, the toasted trademark, which was their special thing that gave them the edge for so many years, that really did originate with him. That was the spark that led to Quiznos.
Yep.
Wow. I love this stuff. This kind of thing is so cool to me. Peyton, I know you dug into this whole Quiznos story for the newsletter. Hey, Denver. Gosh, that must have been a year ago.
It was a while ago,
you wrote a pretty beefy thing on it. What did you learn about the glory years, the rise to power?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the whole toasted sub thing, the conveyor belt oven, that's really what set Quiznos apart. Obviously, Denver didn't really have toasted subs that were being done well or correctly here. And then they had the conveyor belt oven or toaster or whatever. And so really Jimmy Lambatos, and he had a business partner. It was Todd Disner. They did well for themselves. I mean, they managed to franchise out into like 18 locations, but really the glory days started when they sold out to somebody named Rick Shaden. And he's the one who really blew it up. And he managed to double the store's numbers in just 2 years. He went on to open Smashburger. So founded that.
I wonder if that one was his idea, or if he's just one of these like Ray Kroc types who can recognize the potential.
Yeah. I mean, he blew it up. I mean, he took it public, and by 2003, there were some 2,000 Quiznos stores across the country, and at its peak in 2007, more than 5,000 Quiznos across the country.
So that's when I first encountered Quiznos. 2008, when I went to college, there was a Quiznos near campus, and it blew my freaking mind. That French dip. I remember going back like every week, like once a week for weeks and weeks and weeks. I loved it so much. It's hard to think about now because it was so good for so long.
Was it good for so long and it got worse, or has your palate evolved, do you think?
I don't know. Subway got the toaster oven. Subway copied them so soon after they got huge. And then I don't know.
They lost their edge.
Yeah. Peyton, do you ever have love for it?
Not really. I ate there for a hot minute when I was in like middle school because it was my older sister's first job. So she worked at a Quiznos as a sandwich artist. And I was young, probably elementary school still, and I would have to hang out with her after school. So she would grab me from school, we would take the bus to her job at Quiznos, and I would have to sit at the Quiznos in Thornton and like do homework while she worked. And so she always made me chicken bacon ranch Sammys. And the Sammys are served, I think they're served on like pita bread. It's not like, they're not served on like French bread. It's like pita bread or something. I was perusing
the menu. It looks like pita bread.
And so I ate that like every day for like, I don't know, a year of my life. And that is probably the extent of my experience with Quiznos. So yeah, I guess if you can call that love.
Yeah. For something
Memories.
like Quiznos. It's a memory. It's a value neutral memory.
Hey Denver, are you ready to explore? The North Face is officially open, right in their headquarters backyard at Park Meadows. Everything you need for your next journey is now all in one spot. From men's and women's outdoor apparel to backpacks, technical accessories, and so much more. This gear is engineered to perform at the limits of human potential, and it's available in a variety of fresh colors and styles for the season ahead. Every piece they create is designed to get you out there, way, way out there. So no matter how you choose to immerse yourself in the outdoors, whether it be through hiking, climbing, camping, skiing, snowboarding, or beyond, their gear is here to take you further. Find them on the second floor, find all the essentials you need, then go ahead, get out there, and start your journey. The exploration starts there.
So then Quiznos eventually took a turn. You know, it's now come to this point where it's on its last legs. What was the turning point?
Yeah, so the same person who blew up Quiznos, Rick Shaden, he is also, at least so the rumor mill has it, the reason Quiznos fell from grace. He, I like to think, got too cocky. Reportedly, he established a business model that was earning him kickbacks and making profits on franchise fees, although he does deny this.
Him personally?
Yes.
Okay.
And franchise owners claimed that they were being pressured into offering low prices on subs while paying above market price for ingredients and paper goods. There was one reporter who wrote about it and called the franchise owners captive customers. And so franchise owners all around the country got really angry. So around 2006, hundreds of Quiznos franchisees came together to sue Quiznos. And Quiznos did end up settling multiple lawsuits of disgruntled employees that totaled $206 million in payouts. And it got really dark. One franchise owner tragically died by suicide in a Quiznos bathroom.
Oof.
Yeah, and he basically said it was because of Quiznos. So things got dark and corrupt and unsustainable. And then Subway entered the picture.
Yeah, Subway, and then you had Jimmy John's.
Yeah,
and
then so there was these other sandwich shops were like, oh, cool, a conveyor belt toaster. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do it better.
Yeah.
And like Quiznos, it seems to me was just like they never upped their game.
Yeah, they never like figured out what else
Yeah,
they do.
how to make
Yeah.
them stand out.
Like,
they
is
added
there a-
tots? Question mark.
We ordered some Quiznos for lunch today a few hours ago. We all shared some Quiznos, and I wanted to explore some parts of the menu I hadn't been to before, including tater tots. I don't know why that's on the menu. That's a terrible choice. I don't think they have a fryer. They were very soggy, very
Right.
flavorless. How did you two like your sandwiches today?
Mine to me was very reminiscent of Snarf's.
Really?
Yeah. It was an
Peyton
Italian.
and I are
An Italian
skeptical.
I
We
got.
both love Snarf.
I know. So I live really close to a Snarf's, and when I first moved to the area, I went there often, and I very much liked it. I might have burned myself out on it. I'm not sure, but it to me gave me Snarf's vibes. Not Snarf's. I'd assume maybe is a little higher level produce and meats, but
I
the
think so.
general vibe of the Italian to me was pretty on par.
Huh.
Interesting. I had the Italian too, because Italian's my go-to sandwich. I love Snarf's Italian. It's kind of their signature thing too. I also, just to put this out there, I like Subway, so I'm not a sandwich snob. I'll eat a Subway Italian, and I enjoy it very much. So then when I had Quiznos, it was fine. It did its job. It gave me calories. It wasn't super
It was
like
kind of sad.
enjoyable.
It was just like, it was fine. The food was fine. The menu, they didn't have everything that they claimed to have on their menu.
Yeah, I
Like,
was
Yeah.
reading reviews,
Ask
and that
for-
came up a lot with people with particular stores not having.
I mean, I
many
don't know.
things.
I don't know how the whole partnership between a restaurant and like a delivery company works, but like
Yeah.
we ordered through DoorDash, and you kind of just had to. It was like, do you want chips? And you could say yes, but you couldn't say what kind of chips you wanted. You just had to like take what they would give you. Aaron, our producer, ordered an Italian salad, but the picture was a sandwich. So I was like, I don't know if you're getting a salad. It wasn't. She did get a sandwich instead of her salad.
So weird. So weird.
It was weird. It was also just it was okay. I ate it and I was like, now I'm not hungry.
Yeah. I don't think it's just that location that we ordered from, because I actually went to the first Quiznos like 6 months ago. I think we were working here. I don't know. I didn't have a lunch or something. Terrible experience. It was so sloppy in there.
Yeah.
Like bad.
Well, I will say, if you're in Cap
Cap
Hill and you need a sandwich now, just go to Subculture.
You got Subculture, you got Snarf's, you got Chiba Hut, all within
Right.
a 10-block radius. I mean, that's what
See,
killed that
that's-
first Quiznos.
That's the thing is Quiznos it just seems like they gave up.
Well, I want to ask you two a big question here. We've reached the end of the story.
But we never talked about the sponge monkeys, you guys.
I wondered if the sponge monkeys would come up.
We love these subs! Cause they are toasty subs! The Quiznos subs! They are so good we need them robot eating roast houses barbaric!
We can talk a little bit about them. What do you think about
I
them?
just think that was their peak, because that, no matter how crazy that commercial was, it's like every conversation I've had about Quiznos this week, that's what everyone says.
Maybe
Remember
that's
that commercial? What was that about?
That did come up actually.
Does
we were
Jimmy
talking about
know? Which I didn't ask Jimmy, so that, when we go visit his Italian restaurant in town now, we'll have to ask him if he knows anything about the inside of the Sponge Monkey campaign.
We are not the Huns!
Right now, Quiznos' world-famous Italian sub is only $2.99. It's very fantastico.
The Quiznos subs!
Quiznos. Toast.
You alluded to the founder's new Italian restaurant. That's kind of the end of his story. Is after he sold, he's gone on to continue cooking up food. Where's he at?
So he's Jimmy's Jersey Street Cafe opened in 2020. So it was a struggle for him in the beginning, the pandemic. But he says he's doing great now. He also, prior to starting Quiznos, started a catering company called Footers, which his son still runs. Footers,
Like
yeah.
foot-long sandwiches?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh
But-
my gosh, is that what that's a? I've heard of Footers, and granted, I've heard good things about Footers. But I was like, why on earth would you want to associate your food
Food
brand
with
with feet? I had no idea it had. Poor for marketing.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would
his
say.
son still runs it today. It's still around.
So you've heard good things about Footers, and Molly, you were saying this new Italian place is getting pretty good reviews
Correct.
as well.
Yes, I've had a lot of people recommend it to me, and I do plan on going.
Huh. So this guy's kind of like, he knows his food. He knows his restaurant
food.
business.
I trust him. After my conversation with him, I believe in Jimmy.
Why? What does he have?
And he has that like New York, no nonsense, I'm not going to BS you. I'm just going to do things the right way, my way. And hopefully you like it. And I was like, I do like it.
Well, and Denver loved Quiznos for a long time. And it is a part of our history, whether we like it or not. I mean, it's kind of a sad place it's at now, but for a long time, this is a huge thing for Denver, that this came from here. Let's talk about that. That's the big question here at the end. Is this a Denver story, Quiznos? What about this is a Denver story?
I mean, it definitely started as a Denver story, and then I think it became something else. I mean, I think the tidbit about Jimmy saying that he continued to go back to the original and check in on it over the years and still believes in it even now, and thinks highly of it. I mean, there's that tie-in, like, this person who has made Denver home for so long still has this love and passion for this thing he started. But I think Quiznos' bigger story and its downfall is not quite a Denver story.
Yeah, we don't have to own that part.
We don't have to own that part. We own the good part.
Just the golden years. I mean, in its heyday, I'm sure.
And I think it's interesting that our other toasted sandwich place we've talked about, Snarf's, is also owned by a Jimmy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Snarf.
I wonder if Jimmy and Jimmy
Snarf
ever met
now.
each other and talked sandwiches.
They probably did. They probably just fought in the street. You're cutting your meat too thick. I don't know. Peyton, how about you? Is Quiznos a Denver story?
Hey, I think it's it's weaved into the history of our culinary fabric, and that's that. I think we have to take it. We have to take it all. We have to own it. It is what it is.
Well, if I had to stretch, I would say it's that Jimmy guy. That's the Denver story. I
Right.
mean, he's the guy that decided, everyone else is doing this one way. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to bet
Yeah.
big because I know what's good.
I
And
like
I think
that.
there's something very Denver about that.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, for folks out there who missed their Quiznos, what's the next Quiznos? We got a lot of good sandwiches here. Maybe it'd be nice to end with a recommendation for people to go see some hot new sandwich on the scene.
Sure. If we're talking Quiznos style, the toasted sub, we've already mentioned Snarf's. There's Chiba Hut, which was not started in Colorado. It was started in Arizona, but is beloved here.
Fully embraced, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, so those are go-tos. I mentioned Subculture, which does both hot and cold subs. But if I've got to pull like my favorite sandwich places in town, period, out, Carmine Leonardo's in Lakewood, Italian deli,
I've heard
more
that.
East Coast style Italian deli for the cold cut Italian, but also for the hot Italian sausage or the meatball.
Nice.
Yeah, they're a favorite of mine. Spinelli's sandwich shop, a grocery store with sandwich counter in Park Hill. And then I gotta shout out Little Arthur's Hoagies, which is a pop-up. Has been a pop-up, really popular for a while. He recently purchased a food truck, so soon that will be hitting the streets. But
Nice.
look him up, follow him on Instagram, seek out those sandwiches any way you can. It's the best sandwich I've probably ever had. And he changes up what he
Wow.
makes all the time, every week, but they're stellar. He's from Philadelphia, so Philadelphia style hoagies.
That is
Yeah.
the tip. I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're definitely going to put links to all these in our show notes so
Yeah.
you all can try them too. Peyton, how about you?
Yeah, I've got a couple independent places that I've always kind of that have been my go-to in Denver. So Olive and Finch, I've always liked their sandwiches. I specifically like the Cashman. I also love to go to Marzick's Fine Food. They do great sandwiches there. I like to get the French dip. Curtis Park Deli is another great one. I love their sandwiches there. And then, Paul, you recently took me to the Wooden Spoon for coffee.
Oh, yeah.
And you told me to get an egg sandwich. I didn't. I got a turkey and brie sandwich. And it was so good.
Yeah, the
it
Wooden
was so
Spoon,
yummy.
That place is where it's at, on 32nd Avenue on the north side. Wow.
Really good.
I want to co-sign the Curtis Park Deli. I used to work near the original one over in 5 Points. They are so nice. They were just like, they remember my name. Like, I did not eat that many sandwiches, and he would remember my name like month over month. I think they have 3 locations now, one in
Wow.
Boulder, but that's like a classic deli sandwich. Levin Deli, also in the Golden Triangle. Pretty good. I have not eaten their, I think what the sandwiches people know them for, which are like the tall stack pastrami sandwiches. I've seen people enjoy those. So, and the vegetarian options were pretty darn good. A little pricey though.
A little
Leavened
pricey.
Deli. A little pricey. Wow. Peyton, Molly, R.I.P. Quiznos, right? I don't know. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And here's what else Denverites are talking about. Homelessness. Our recently re-elected city auditor, Tim O'Brien, published his latest report last week looking at the state of Denver's response to the homelessness crisis. According to the Denver Post, O'Brien found that the city has no idea how much taxpayer money is being spent enforcing Mayor Hancock's urban camping ban. O'Brien estimates that we spent almost $14 million between 2019 and 2022, but that excludes the police, who are typically present for the sweeps. So it's probably way more. The police department didn't share their numbers, if they track them at all. I'll drop a link to that story in the show notes so you can see all of O'Brien's recommendations for yourself. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell Jimmy Lambatos about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Denver, by texting Denver to 66866. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you then.
We love these Psalms, 'cause they are good to us. The Quiznos Psalms, they are tasty, they are crunchy, they are warm because they toasted.